All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining this month's Roots class. I am pleased to introduce, of course, Professor Ernie, who is usually here to help me, and we have a guest professor, Professor Milan, who's going to help me today too. And we are just so excited to continue sharing all of these interesting and wonderful heroes and sheroes each month. And usually Professor Ernie is the one doing the class, but he's going to help today. We're going to all be co-teachers, right, guys?
Yeah.
All right. So with no further ado, I'm going to jump right into teaching you guys about some really cool people. Okay. All right. So the first, just introduction again, the two people we're going to talk about today is Miss Ava Duvernay and Mr. James Baldwin. James Baldwin is one of my absolute favorite authors. I have his book right here next to me, James Baldwin, a book of a few of his writings. He's also really known for his essays, which are almost as popular as he is. Okay, co-professor, tell them who we are.
We love museums and learning about Black history. We love sharing what we learn with others. Everyone deserves to know their history. It will build confidence in children and inspire them to read stories about real-life heroes and sheroes.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about some of the rules so that everyone can have fun today.
Let's help everyone have fun. Listen to the speaker. Email us when you have a question. Explore the project today. Have fun. Share what you learn with others.
That's right, and this is our website. If you have any questions, feel free to go right out to that website and email us. That's right. Okay, so who is Miss Ava? Miss Ava Duvernay was born August 24th in 1972 in Long Beach, California. Her father was an entrepreneur who owned a carpeting business. Her aunt loved the arts and introduced her to a famous show called West Side Story at a really early age. And maybe some of you are learning about Broadway shows like this too, like one really famous one that just got distributed on video called Hamilton. Well, she saw a video like that when she was a little girl. Her mother was also socially conscious and taught her to say something through the arts. She spent her summers as a child in Alabama and remembers watching the famous March on Selma. That's a really key fact, kids. I want you to remember that when we get to a few later slides about her life, that she watched it on TV when it was actually happening. What did she do to achieve her goals? In 1990, Miss Duvernay graduated from St. Joe High School in Lakewood, California. She loved hip hop and rhyming and headed to UCLA, where she earned degrees in English and African American Studies. Miss Duvernay was hired right out of college as a junior publicist at a small studio. A publicist is someone who works in things like journalism, editing, understanding how to communicate. From this position, she started her own public relations agency in 1999, specializing in movie marketing for African American audiences. How was she successful? She directed an episode of the hit drama Scandal, one of my absolute favorite shows, and also released an ESPN documentary about a really famous tennis player named Venus Verse. Venus Williams, you may know her from a previous Roots shero we talked about, Serena Williams. Well, Venus is her sister. In her fight for achieving pay equity, so equal pay for her as much as the men that play tennis or female tennis players. Miss Duvernay directed the Oscar-nominated historical drama Selma in 2014, which follows a portion of Dr. Martin Luther King's life during an urgent call for voting rights. So can you believe that? Something she saw as a little girl watching the real March on Selma when she was young, she got to direct the movie about. And imagine that instance in her life must have been so impactful, which helped her make such a wonderful film in 2014, urging a call for voting rights. Miss Duvernay became the first African-American female director to receive a Golden Globe nomination and have a film nominated for a Best Picture Oscar. In 2016, she did it again. She directed 13, a documentary about African Americans in the US prison system. She received an Oscar nomination for that feature documentary. Awesome.
Excuse me.
One second, we'll say the questions for later, okay?
I didn't have a question.
Just 1 second. So one of the things we want to talk about Miss Duvernay, and then we'll show the picture of her in this book, and then we'll let Ernie add on anything he wants to add, is this really fascinating conversation between her and the lead in a really cool movie, A Wrinkle in Time. We're going to pull that up and play it.
Extraordinary, also dangerous. He's trapped by a darkness that's actively spreading throughout the universe. And the only one who can stop it is you.
What was it about the book that you kind of loved about it?
You know, the thing that captivated my imagination about this story was a young girl at the center of it, hopping planets, finding the light in herself and saving the universe. The whole story, you think it's about her finding her father, but it's not about her finding her father. She finds him, she takes him, and then she keeps going on this fantastic journey. And the fact that Disney was down to make that a girl of color, it just really, I was like, I'm in, you know, it really just pulled at my heartstrings, captured my imagination.
Yeah, talk about why that's so important today, the theme of like fighting good versus evil.
Well, we live in divisive times and dark times. You know, there's a lot of chaos around young people. And you have young people asserting their voices saying, you know, we want to be safe and we want things this way. And I think, you know, this film meets that moment in a really interesting way. This is really for little kids, younger kids, kids 8 to 12, people who are young and, like I say, young at heart. When you watch the movie, I watch it as the 12-year-old Ava, all the things that I hoped and dreamed that I wanted to be, and those things have changed, but still that sense of magic that I loved as a child, we tried to bring to the film for all ages.
Yeah, and it's also like
really interesting. Ava's about being that 12-year-old, that young girl watching things like March on Selma, and having hopes and dreams like some of you kids have, and then growing up and creating things so important and magical. So we'll let our before we go to the next guy, do you want to show the picture of Ava in the book? Good job. In one of the books we have at the end, they talk about Miss Ava Duvernay. Okay, thank you, Milan. And Ernie, what did you want to add about Miss Duvernay?
Nothing. You in the video said what I was going to say.
That's great. All right, we'll keep going. Next up, who are we talking about next, Ernie?
James Baldwin.
James Baldwin, one of our faves. Who was James? He was born August 2nd, 1924 in Harlem, New York. Although James's mom was single, she married a preacher when he was 3 years old. His teachers identified his passion for reading and an early gift for writing. At 14, He became a preacher, following in the footsteps of his stepfather. After high school, he had to put college on hold to help support his 7 sisters and brothers. In 1943, he lost his stepfather and gained an 8th sibling on the same day. He had some pretty tough challenges to overcome. How did he reach his goals? In 1945, he met famed author Richard Wright, and through his mentorship, was able to get a fellowship dedicated to writing. He started getting short stories and essays published. In 1948, he obtained another writing fellowship and moved to Paris. In a French bistro during this time, he wrote one of his most famous novels, Go Tell It on the Mountain, released in 1953. Ernie, can you read that famous quote by Mr. Baldwin?
He says, "Not everything is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced."
Love it. Great reading. Thank you, Ernie. Thank you, Ernie. And how was James successful? During his time in France, he became fluent in French. French is the language that people in France speak. In 1954, he won the prestigious Guggenheim Fellowship. In 1963, he wins the Polk Memorial Award for outstanding magazine journalism. In 1965, he debates and arguably wins against noted conservatist William F. Buckley. In 1986, Baldwin receives France's highest civilian recognition, the Legion of Honor Medal from the President Francois Mitterrand. His publications numbered 54 volumes, and today it is estimated that 26 million copies of his works sold worldwide, including China and Indonesia. So his writings have been translated in languages all over the world, all talking about the experience of African Americans and why we deserve equal and equity. Okay, Ernie, what do you want to add?
If you see in how was James successful on the right, there's a picture of him on the left and Martin Luther King Jr. on the right. I don't know who that guy is in the middle, but he befriended those 2 guys.
That's right. And the guy in the middle was a famous singer-dancer named Sammy Davis Jr. They say that Baldwin's work was just as powerful as Martin Luther King's work because he was able to reach audiences internationally who also helped advocate for the rights of African Americans. So, activity, kids. Mr. Baldwin was known for being quick-witted. That means he could think of answers and debate people and speeches like that, and giving the most amazing speeches. Here's a video for kids with tips on giving great speeches.
Humans are killing polar bears in 2 ways, and the green in the trees are like your green shirt. Why? How would you like to go to a beach and you can't even swim in the ocean because it's filled with oil and make us extremely sick? Doesn't make any sense to me. This time, his spell didn't work. But for Japan, it was tragic. The bomb hit Hiroshima. We remember the physical podium points by calling them P-peg. Let's find out what they are. presence, posture, eye contact, and gestures.
Presence.
Presence is the speaker's energy and connection with the audience. Does his or her presence reflect confidence? Is the speaker welcoming the audience with what he or she has to say? Another word for presence is charisma.
Hello and welcome. I'm Washington.
Do you want your favorite teacher to get fired? No.
You had outstanding presence. I felt like you had some credibility. Number one, because you're a student. Two, because you sounded passionate in how you spoke.
Posture. Posture is how the speaker holds his or her body. It is most effective for the speaker to stand up tall with knees relaxed and shoulders down. Another word for posture is stance.
Today, I'm going to be talking about oil spills, our dependence on oil, and solutions to oil spills.
At first glance, I do not see anything like the yellow, spiky-haired vegetarian that we know as Lisa Simpson. But we are both surprisingly alike.
Eye contact.
Eye contact is when a person looks directly to the audience. Good eye contact is made often with as many members of the audience as possible. Use several focal points with speaking to a large audience.
These beautiful white creatures could be extinct in 40 years if we don't help.
Okay. And we have the link here in the presentation. So if it's something you want to watch and learn how to be a great speaker like Mr. Baldwin, you can watch it. I think when you did your speeches, did that video help you?
Yes.
Awesome.
I also saw some other videos of kids being famous
It's great.
on TV.
Mm-hmm. All right. So next up is one of our last slides. Ernie, do you want to share this?
Yes. You can learn more on one of these books that are open today. Some you may not find at the library, and some you will.
Can you hold up the one that you have?
I have Little Legends Exceptional Men in Black History, which you can see on the screen for a bigger look.
And the great thing is about this book, if you participate in the Fountaindale Summer Library Adventure this summer, and we have a few more weeks for you to participate and earn a prize, the TTI group that I represent, we sponsored for you to have this book for free. Who loves free things? Woo! So join the Fountaindale Library Summer Reading Challenge so you can choose this book and learn about awesome people like Miss Duvernay and James Baldwin. Last but not least, join us next month, next class, as we talk about two pioneers in education, W.E.B. Du Bois and Miss Mary McLeod Bethune. With that, we're done. And I don't know if we have any questions, but I'm going to stop sharing. Okay.
All right, let's turn it over to the audience if there's any questions or comments. Great presentation. And I do apologize for the technical issues that we're having. So we are recording this video and it'll be up on the fountaindale.org/YouTube channel.
Great. Do you want to share your question?
Yeah.
What's your question?
My question is, I hope you have a great time, and I hope you have a great time with your family.
Any other questions? And thank you for that contribution, Milan. Don't think we have any more. So what we will do is we are so glad that, somebody said we're really enjoying the prize books. It's great. We are just so glad that you guys were able to join us today. We appreciate your continued support of our program, and we will continue to offer it and talk about these awesome heroes and sheroes each month. So I think with that, Miss Joyce, we're complete.